This program is brought to you by thepodcastfactory.com.
Ben Settle, compulsively punchable.
He's the kind of guy who you'd probably just punch on the arm really hard if you ever met him.
Worshipped by feminists.
He pokes fun at feminism and women, just joking around, his whole sandwich making thing.
Mildly inspiring.
Yes, I recommend the Ben Settle Show, and anybody who isn't on it, that's their own loss.
Somewhat authentic.
Ben is a very distinct personality. There's no fluff. I can't stand fluff.
Syrupy sweet.
Tells it like it is, and sometimes may not be the most polite manner, shall we say.
Kind of useful.
So I have spent tens of thousands of dollars on coaching and masterminds, and I've learned more from Ben Settle's podcast than from any of that.
Semi-intelligent.
Ben sounds like a crazy guy at times, but he's one of the smartest individuals in marketing I've ever met.
Mostly forgettable.
He's always in the forefront of my mind.
The bensettle.com podcast begins now.
This is Ben Settle, the bensettle.com podcast from the bensettle.com website, coming at you from bensettle.com studios and the bensettle.com lair.
Plug.
Your bensettle.com pleasure and convenience.
Why did you name it this again? I can't remember.
Lest anybody be wondering what I'm up to with that. Now, here's something to think about, Jonathan. Now, so you're more in tune with the podcast world than I am. Okay, I don't even listen to other people's podcasts because I just don't. I just find them, I just don't listen to them for whatever reason. I'm sure there's some good stuff out there. I just don't listen to them. Do you know any other podcasts that name themselves after their own URL that you can think of? I'm sure there's some, but can you think of any prominent ones?
Yeah, I can't. Really? And actually, Cupcake was asking me about this because she's managing projects now. And she's like, so what's the name of the show? And I said, bensettle.com podcast. Yeah, but what's the name of the show? bensettle.com podcast. What is the name of the show? And I'm like, don't ask me again. I'm going to kill you. But it's smart, right? Because every time you say bensettle.com podcast, it's a plug and you don't even have to think about it.
That's my whole point. And, as far as Cupcake goes, she's still new to the podcast factory business. She's going to be okay.
Be nice to her.
She's going to be just fine. We will have her, she'll be fine. She's going to be okay. So that's the whole thing. My prediction is this. You're going to see a bunch of podcasts popping up, naming themselves after their own URL. But I want everyone to know it started here, okay? That you heard it here first, probably. I don't know. Maybe there's someone else who does it. But, because everybody wants to get cute and clever and they don't believe in simplicity. And I did the same thing with the last one, right? With the whole entrepreneur shtick and all that, which it's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. But at the end of the day, I want to build a list. Okay. So what does that mean? My goal is to build a list before anything else. I'm going to do everything I can to have everything that touches the marketplace have my URL on there so that if they go there, the only thing they can do is opt in. In fact, Jonathan, I'm going to get some t-shirts. If I haven't already done it by the time this airs, I want to get some t-shirts made with my URL on it. So we'll see. Because that's not too egotistical or anything. But
I don't know. You gave me shit when I showed up with my t-shirt, but hey, all right.
I liked your t-shirt. I wasn't giving you shit. I was jealous. All right. That's what I do when I get jealous. Okay. I want you to fail if you have what I don't have. Okay. That's all.
I got it.
So I at the end of last show, I said we would talk about escaping the friend zone in business and life, because I'll tell you what, John, we did those last 4 weeks. We did 2 Q&A episodes, and I listed all these questions from my list. I would say a good 20 to 30% of the questions were about the dating and relationship world, which is funny because do I really look like an expert at this?
I guess you do.
I got the most chaotic dating life that you could ask for, in some ways by choice. For some reason, I don't know. I find it very fun, but I'm probably not necessarily. But what I can, and this is what I tell people, I don't know how to tell you. I can't tell you how to find a mate or anything like that stuff. I don't know. Okay, but what I can do, if you're a guy at least, I can tell you how to be happy. Okay, and I can tell you how to be content, and I can tell you how to be successful, and that should help the other things fall in place when you're at whatever timing you want, how you want it. So going on that, let's talk about this dreaded so-called friend zone. This thing that like is harder to get out of. Like if you ever watched the movie The Dallas Steve, he's coaching this guy on this very thing. He's like, you don't want to get into that friend zone. Like getting out of the friend zone is like harder than getting out of Alcatraz prison. Like once you've been safely put in the friend zone, you're not getting out. I mean, you can. There's ways of doing it, but it's hard. And it's not even, I don't even think it's worth your effort or energy to do it. And so what is the friend zone? Friend zone is basically you like a girl and she's decided that you are not worthy of anything but being a friend. She's not going to do anything else with you. She's not going to date you. And if she does date you, you ain't getting anything other than the opportunity to buy her a free mojito or strawberry lemonade and some shrimp scampi
help her move.
Or whatever. Yeah, you can help her move. You can pick her and her friends up. You can pick her boyfriend up at the airport, can do all that stuff, but you ain't ever gonna. And this is why, Jonathan. Here's the tip for guys listening to this. And this is not gonna do. Girls not gonna like what I have to say here because I'm taking away some of their perks, like some of the benefits they get as being a girl. Whenever a girl asks you to do something, okay, like help her move or pick her up from the store, help her if it's in the copywriting world, she wants your help with like a headline or something. Whatever it is, all you gotta say is this: that's boyfriend duty. Sorry. That's boyfriend duty. Can you help me move? Nah, that's boyfriend duty. Sorry. You have to call your boyfriend. I don't have a boyfriend. Well, I don't know what to tell you. Good luck. My whole point is that is the kind of stuff that'll help prevent you from getting into that dreaded friend zone in the first place. But there's also a friend zone in business too. There are people, for example, who will never hire you. They will gladly try to get advice from you. They will try to get free products out of you. They will try all that. There were people who will have calls with you and make it sound like they're really serious about hiring you, but really they have no intention of hiring you. They're going to hire someone else. It happens in business and life is my point. So the question is, what do you do about it? I mean, how do you A, prevent it from happening, and B, how do you deal with it when it does happen? Because, it's a little bit of an ego buster for some guys when they get friend zoned. Personally, I think it's great. I love being, like I've told you, Jonathan, I love being told no because I don't give my friendship to anybody that I like as more than a friend in the first place. So, for example, there was a certain girl, this was a few months ago, she decided she didn't want to date me or whatever. So, that kind of puts me in a friend zone by default, but I just simply refuse to be her friend. Because Jonathan, what do I get out of the friendship?
Nothing.
In that case. Nothing. I get absolutely nothing of what I want. But what does she get? I get blue balls, right? She gets blue balls, oh Bembo. She gets my time, my charm, if you want to say I have charm. Gets my time, my energy, my charm, my resources if they're hanging out with me or whatever. They get all the things they want and I get nothing of what I want. How is that even they're all in equality. How is that equal? It's not. That's my whole point. So, first of all, it's just a mindset. Don't let anyone put you in the friend zone. Okay. You don't be friends with people. This leads into one of them. Don't let people hold you hostage. And a lot of guys will do this, Jonathan. They will sit there and they like a girl and they pine after her and they're always hanging around, hoping for their chance. And she, unfortunately, isn't being honest with him and saying, look, this is never going to happen. She just doesn't say anything and likes getting the free attention and free, refrigerator movings and all that stuff and the free plane ride pickup and all that stuff. And what does he get out? Nothing. She's holding him hostage and he's letting her hold him hostage. It's not even her fault. Remember, there's an email player's rule. I don't know what number it is, Jonathan, but it's always your fault. And for guys that get in that position, it is your fault. You put yourself there. You are allowing yourself to be held hostage. You are not an innocent victim. You are a willing victim. And victims don't really get anything in this game. So you might as well stop being one. Tell them, look, here's what I want. And if you don't want the same thing, that's totally okay with me. But, I'm moving on. You're not going to see me anymore. And let's leave it at that. And you don't do it in a mean way. You don't do it. You're not trying to be vindictive or anything like that. You're simply being honest and transparent. And you are giving that person, which is another way of escaping the friend zone. You are giving that person, as the late great Patrice O'Neill used to talk about on the Black Phillip show, you are giving them options for thinking differently. Because at the time when you were being held hostage, while you were letting them do this to you, they had no other option. They didn't have to think about any other options. You were just there. Their little drone, little pet, the society's little helper, there to do everything that's supposed to be done and while she's out with someone else. So this gives them options for thinking differently. And that's what you want to do. And it doesn't mean they're going to take you as the option, but at least they have the other option. And there's nothing that they hate more, Jonathan, than having to take responsibility for their decisions, unfortunately. But this puts them in a position where they kind of have to. And as it should be. So does this apply to business? Absolutely. It would apply to like if you wanted to get a client or something. Again, there are people out there I know for a fact, Jonathan, that client types will use and abuse somebody's time because it's being given to them for free and have no intention of hiring that person. I have been that copywriter, quite frankly, in the past until I started giving them options and say, look, I'm not going to keep giving you free advice here. You're going to have to make a decision. Whether you hire me or not, I don't, that's up to you. I'm not, there's no hard feelings either way, but you need to make a decision now. There's no more of my time is being given for free. You either may, and most of them will get offended and all that, and that's just how they are. And that's fine. Let them go. Okay. But at least you're not being friend zoned by the client. Free line zoned. Didn't I call it free line zone in the old show, Jonathan? We did a whole show about that. The free line zone. Remember, we were telling that story about that girl who went on Match and she did it just to get free meals to pay off her subscription.
That's right.
The free line zone, the low class jackass zone is what I called it. But all right, so going on last week, I kind of went into this a little bit, but you should disdain. This is one of the 48 Laws of Power from Robert Greene's book. Disdain the things you cannot have. Now, this can apply to objects, it can apply to people, it can apply to anything. There's a hell of a lot of power in disdaining these things. It's not a tactic to get the thing you want necessarily. It's mostly for your own peace of mind. So you can let go of something. If you can disdain something that you want, that you know you can't have, there's a chance that thing may start pursuing you. Okay, now this could be a person, it could be a business deal, it could be anything. But unless you let something go, it has no room to come back to you. And I gave an example of when I got shot down, Jonathan, which happens so rarely that statistically it's like it never happens at all, but it did happen. And unfortunately, I didn't do my research well enough. So this particular person was already seeing somebody. So whatever, fair enough. Do you think I'm sitting around, hanging around, trying to, I'm just going to hang around the gym until this guy goes. I don't care anymore, Jonathan. I literally disdained it. I've said, you know what you do is you start looking for their flaws. you start looking for all their flaws and thinking, and you got to put your Seinfeld and Larry David hat on. So if you watch Seinfeld and if you watch Curb Your Enthusiasm, they're very good at finding stupid little reasons to actually not like people. Like suddenly it could be the dumbest thing, but there's actually a lot of wisdom to that when you can't have something. So find reasons why, maybe I kind of dodged a bullet here. And if you can get into that mindset, you don't care. You've disdained it. You can move on to something better. And who knows, maybe that thing comes around again, but at least you'll be in the position to choose them or not. And that is one of the very few ways you can escape the dreaded friend zone. Another thing y'all can do, and this is straight out of my Villains book, and we did a whole show on this too. Yeah, if I remember correctly. And I think this was your favorite show, the patience one, wasn't it? Yeah, right. That changed the whole concept of realizing the power of patience changes everything. Be patient. Now, when I say patient, I'm not saying patiently wait around and be a puppy dog and all that. What I'm saying is go disdain the thing you don't want, but have patience. Don't sit there and hope it's going to come back and all this stuff. Forget all that stuff. You patiently go about your life and pursue other people, if it's a girl or whatever, or other things, if it's a business deal or a client. But you always have patience in all things. Patience gives you a certain kind of advantage in life. We talk about, that word privilege gets thrown around. You want to give yourself privilege? Start becoming more patient. People are just drawn to patient people. Some people are annoyed by patient people, Jonathan. Sure. I have dated girls who are very annoyed by my level of patience, because they're impatient. But that's what draws them to you, okay? Most people are impatient. And if you're patient, whether it be business deals or clients or customers or it's a girl you want or whatever, you be the patient. You just be patient about everything. You don't get emotional about things. You don't get too worked up about things. You don't get angry about stuff. It is what it is. You just patiently go about your life and make decisions that are right for you. Have the patience to make decisions that are right for you will actually give people a hell of a lot of confidence in you. I've witnessed this in my own life. I've seen it with the few other people I've met in my life who have super patience, and so it is. Another thing you should be doing, regardless of what you do, but especially for this friend zone crap, is if you have a mission in life and that's the only thing you're putting on your pedestal, as I talk about in the Villains book, it's impossible to friend zone somebody who has a mission. Let's just put it this way, Jonathan. I'm going to simplify this for everybody. It is impossible to friend zone someone who has a mission, okay? Because the guy who has a mission, at the end of the day, he doesn't care. He cares about his mission. Okay, that's what he puts on a pedestal. He doesn't want drama. He doesn't want bullcrap. He wants to pursue his mission. He's going to choose people that he thinks are going to help him get there. And if those people reject him, he doesn't care. He goes home and works on his mission. He goes back to sleep that night with his mission on his mind. He wakes up the next morning with the mission on his mind, not how he got shot down or something. He doesn't care. He cares only for his mission. And his mission will never friend zone him. That's more reliable to him. So have a mission. Now, if you don't understand what I'm talking about with this, simply go to Amazon, type in Ben Settle Villains, and my Villains book will come up. And I would recommend getting it. It's $2.99 on Amazon for Kindle, like $9 for the soft cover copy or whatever. If you did nothing but read that chapter, you will never be friend and apply it and actually live it. It's impossible for a client to free line zone you. It's impossible for a customer to free line zone you, and it's impossible for a girl to friend zone you. Another thing you should be doing is always improving yourself. We talked about this, Jonathan, one of the very first bensettle.com podcasts, about this whole mindset of, chat up people who are interesting to you, keep working on yourself, and keep pursuing your mission, basically. You do those three things, you cannot be friend zoned because you don't care. You're not going to put that kind of thing on a pedestal. You're going to be just going in the direction you want to go. So keep constantly improving yourself, and you just can't get friend zoned. It won't happen. You can only get friend zoned if you let it happen. If you sit there and put someone on a pedestal or a client or a person, whatever, and you sit there and follow them around like a puppy dog and you don't put your foot down and you let them hold you hostage, that's what's going to do it for you. But if you just keep improving yourself, you'll be just fine. Finally, or actually there's two more things. The penultimate thing I'm going to leave you with is this idea. Now, this is very tactical, Jonathan. I'm a principle-based guy, but sometimes tactics have their place. They do. I had a friend who did this, so this is how I know it works. And I've done it to an extent, but I'll tell his story. So this is a friend of mine from many, many years ago, and he was in love with this girl, and she was wanting to date his friend instead. She didn't want to date him. I'm going to get this right. She said she didn't want to date him. So what he did is set her up with his best friend, like on a date. Think of the power, think of the balls it took for him to do that. He really loved this girl, but he had the balls to say, all right, I'm not going to let this girl control me. In fact, I'm going to set her up with my friend and have the confidence to know that she would come around to the right decision. And she did end up ultimately marrying him, all because of reverse psychology. He just said, screw it. I'm going to show no neediness. In fact, I'm going to do anti-neediness. I'm going to tell this girl that's okay. You know what? In fact, I have a friend I think you would love to date. Think of how that probably screwed with her mind, Jonathan.
No kidding.
Why doesn't this guy suddenly like me anymore? What's going on?
Why is he pimping me
again,
off?
He's pimping you out. Now, this is very tactical, I admit it. And, it's kind of a nuclear option when you really have when you've lost, doing this, it's kind of like throwing the touchdown pass. It may or may it may get caught. It may get thrown in, it may get intercepted. Who knows? Like he could very well have had his ball intercepted on that and she would have went with his friend. But whatever. If you have nothing to lose, then you might as well go for the touchdown pass. That's what I'm saying. So little reverse psychology there. It's something to try. Finally, and this is something that everybody should have, and that's called outcome independence. Meaning, yes, you want XYZ thing or person or whatever, but if you don't get it, you are whether or not you get it or not, you're still going to get up the next day and go about your life. You are outcome independent. You don't need it. Like you want it, but you don't need it, and you're happy to just let it go. You get shot down, it doesn't really affect you. Okay, you try to go after someone and it doesn't happen. That client, it's okay. Outcome independence, meaning you don't have any neediness to you whatsoever. If they say yes, great. If they say no, fine. Your emotions stay the same no matter what, because you're outcome independent. There's always another client out there, and there's always another girl out there, and you don't need that one. You might need a client to survive, but you don't need that specific one that you just went for. And again, this goes back to the math being on your side. If you are good at what you do, so we'll just take copywriting, for example. This applies to anything. If you're a good copywriter, there's less supply of you than there are of clients that need you. The math is on your side. And if you're a valuable guy out there with stuff to offer, there is less supply of you than there are girls who want what you have. So always remember that. Be outcome independent. There will always be another client. There will always be another girl. And at this rate, Jonathan, there'll probably always be another bensettle.com podcast episode because I can't seem to shut the hell up about this stuff. So next week, I have no idea, Jonathan. It'll be a surprise. Be a nice little surprise, whatever it is.
All right. Looking forward to it. So that is another bensettle.com podcast in the can. We'll be back with you next time.
You've been listening to the bensettle.com podcast. To get your hands on a free issue of Ben Settle's prestigious $97 per month email player's newsletter, simply go to www.bensettle.com.
This is the podcastfactory.com.